Okay. So, I'm still from time to time thinking about the PhD, and I'm indulging myself in having conversations with my supervisors in my head. I'm still angry. I think I've only just started becoming fully aware of how angry I am. So I'm gonna keep looking down because I'm rolling right now. So my one of the problems that I had with my supervisor, and this will be of use to others who are students right now. One of my problems with being a student is deference towards my supervisors and my teachers, even though sometimes I didn't agree with them. So I never found out a way of disagreeing and not having to change my mind, like in order to get a grade or in order to make progress. I had to suspend my disbelief for certain things. And I still have disbelief. I'm still angry because I believe that there are some problems in the education system, and those problems, some of them come from the fact that we have systematized education. So it's just the nature of a system, right? And some problems are how people interpret learning, how the evaluation of learning, grades or exams or anything like that. And there is actually tension between learning and creativity, because creating things is a method of learning. It's a way to learn. But it also has its own purposes that don't have to do, like learning is incidental. The learning is incidental to creativity. It just happens as an aside. And I think that this is important to always have in the forefront of our minds if we're teachers, but also if we're students. I mean, I think students know that they are themselves and that they are learning material, but they don't want to be taught how to be. Okay? And so because we separate being and doing, right? And learning is a kind of action, or it's assumed to be. So automatically we take children, we only give them 5 or 6 years of freedom, and then they're immediately put into a system that causes them and us to become oriented towards action, doing things, and accumulating objects in their minds of knowledge, right? Which is very different from learning how one's being is in the world. Now, that self-knowledge does come incidentally, automatically, when we are doing. And so if a child or a person is allowed to do in their way or to learn in their way, right, then we see successful learning outcomes, and we also see well-rounded, happy children becoming well-rounded, happy adults with good self-understanding, and therefore able to function in the world. But many teachers are so afraid to touch on the being part of things that they don't actually allow for doing on the child's behalf. They instead control the learning, the in and the out. And so learning then becomes facts, knowledge to be acquired and stored and then accessed in an exam and then dumped. And that kind of learning can be useful if you just need to memorize a bunch of boring facts, but we all know, we all know it is really the smallest part of learning. So by taking the creativity out of education and boxing it into younger and younger ages are allowed to have that experience, But the older we get, the more the product of our learning becomes some kind of reflection on the quality of the teaching, right? And messy products might be really rich and full of learning, but not adequately representative of the teacher, or not what the teacher wants to see. And I think that happened to me in my PhD. I think that I went in there very much feeling like, okay, I've finally gotten to the bottom of the statistical model of the internal experience of mind, and I find it lacking. And I find it almost laughably inaccurate and useless, which means that I really don't believe in many, 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 many aspects of modern medicine and many, many, many aspects of modern education. Like, I don't believe it. I think it works for some. It works for most because it was designed to work for most, but it doesn't work for everyone because it's missing that critical factor for some of us, certainly for neurodiverse among us, So I'm a ground up thinker. I like to play and do and mess around with facts, objects of knowledge, with ideas, and then I mash them through a process. I come up with a process, and then I put those ideas through the process to see what can be done to the idea, and how does the idea fit the process. Does it get torn to shreds? I remember a time where my grandmother took me fishing for minnows with a wide-holed net. And there's so many methods that are wide-holed nets that let all the minnows through, and you don't catch any fish. And researchers continue to use those wide-holed nets. And that's what statistical manipulations of data are. They're just holy nets. Fishing. There's no one person who is represented by our statistical models of people. Right? And I've done a lot of courses now, so because there's no random of anything ever, there's always a choice made by a person who has designs upon the outcome. always. None of our statistical techniques actually apply. So why should I waste my lifetime trying to measure the immeasurable when I already know that I'm not buying into it, right? But I don't believe in random behavior. I don't. And I don't believe that statistical group level analyses is a really useful use of many brilliant minds. I really just think that when doing research, yes, it's important to go and see what is done before and then formulate maybe an idea of what's missing. But once the idea comes that what's missing is one's individual perspective, then all of that foreground knowledge needs to be set aside, and the person needs to go experience and observe in action what it is that they're studying. And fundamentally, at the root of all research is the desire to know what is real, what's happening. It's a search for security. And creativity is not a search for security. It is not looking for answers to questions. Creativity is about bringing something into the world that wasn't here before. And sometimes understanding that creativity can take a lifetime. So it's good that I have stepped out of academia because it is too narrow to contain my idea. Okay, those are my thoughts about that. I'm still really mad. I'm mad because I thought I could do it. I thought I was in a creative place. Although we're looking back, I see all the signs. I was being stopped. I never understood that when people asked a question, what they really meant was, I don't think this is a good idea. If they would just say that, I could say, oh, actually it is because it's this, 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 and this. But instead, they just go, oh, I don't know. What kind of feedback is that? I'm like, okay, you can not know, but I know. I'm confident that we're going to get somewhere. Just do it. Get in there. All right, so it's not how academia works. All right, what a waste of time. I guess it wasn't a waste. I'll get some value out of it, but I really, right now, I'm feeling like that was a huge waste.